into your life. Karibu sana Njeri.
Thank you.
You can introduce yourself.
My name is Specshoza Njeri. I am born again. Christ is Lord and Savior in my life. I am deeply known and deeply loved by Christ. For now, that's what I can say.
Wow. Thank you so much, Njeri, for accepting to be my guest today. Karibu sana viewers. Karibu sana. Continue tuning in ETV as we get to hear the story of Njeri. Njeri, you say you're born again, right?
Yeah.
Are you married, single?
I am single, but you understand.
I don't understand.
I am single, but I'm still trusting God for someone.
Oh, for someone.
Yeah.
I can see a proposal ring there. Or
This is not a proposal ring.
What is it?
It is a purity ring.
Wow.
Yeah, I made a covenant with God because the new norm in this generation is that purity is possible. And so I made a covenant with God to keep myself pure until that time he'll bring his son to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, okay. I've never heard of that. So there is a purity ring. Tell us more. What does that mean? You know, there are so many people outside there who maybe are not born again. They can't understand that, you know.
Okay, yeah, I understand. So when you look in the word of God, people used to have covenants with God in so many ways. A lot of things were used as covenants. And so there is that one thing. Even in marriage, they use rings, as a covenant. That you'll understand that a woman will be walking with that ring all along. And so when I wear this ring, I made a covenant with not to sin with my eyes and not to do what isn't his will for the time being. Because I believe in purity. And if it takes to wear this purity ring for me to just stay pure until that time, then be it.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. Hey, you must be very focused. A true born again Christian. You know, in the current world that you're living in, being born again is just like a word, you know. I'm born
Yeah, I
again.
understand.
That's it. So what?
Yeah, there is more to be born again.
Yeah,
there
there's
is
more to be born again, Njeri.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And Njeri today is going to tell us about his dark story about rape. Can you tell us? Let's just start it off.
Yeah, so first I'll just give a background of myself so that we can understand what came about for me to be the Njeri I am today. Njeri is a child that was born out of wedlock. I wouldn't say I am born out of wedlock because right now I am adopted by Christ. But I was born out of wedlock and I stayed with my grandparents until the time I was 2. And you can be sure when you're 2 years old, you don't have like a memory you can put for yourself to know that this is what happened and is not what happened. So my mom remarried when I was 2 years old. She came and picked me up from my grandparents' place and took me with her to her new home. And so I am raised in Mombasa. Yeah, I stayed with my parents and growing up, I really don't have good memories of my growing up. You know the way children will say, my dad used to do this for me, my mom will take me out. No. The only good memory I have is that for the time being of growing up, I never slept hungry. I never walked naked.
At your grandmother's place.
Now in my mom's place,
your
after
mom's
my
place.
mom
Oh, after
remarried.
she got married again.
Yeah, she remarried and then she came and took me from my grandparents' place. So I was so young to understand. But I came to understand late after things happened. And so in my parents' home at that time, I really didn't have any good memory at all. Because growing up, my dad used to really abuse my mom. You know, that abuse emotionally, psychologically, abuses. So I grew watching
real
my...
dad?
Sorry?
Your real dad or your stepdad?
So I realized later he's my stepdad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you know, in
She
Kikuyu
got married
culture,
when you were in 2 years. You were
Yeah.
so young, you couldn't understand.
yeah, I
that.
couldn't understand it. So no one told me he isn't my father. So I came to realize way much later. And so growing up, my dad used to be really abusive, really. I can tell really. Because you'd even reach a point of pouring food down, like doing all the nasty things, and you won't get it because this man is not like he was drunkard or he used to use drugs, no. So I grew up like that, watching my dad abusing my mom in front of us. I have a brother. We have a 3 years difference. So we watched all that growing
Are you the
up.
firstborn or your brother?
Yeah, I am the firstborn.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know the younger brother is from the new dad.
Yeah, it's from the new dad.
Okay.
Yeah. So we just live like that. And at the age of 8, you can know when a child is at the age of 8, she understands what is really happening. And so I was raised in a very sexual perversion environment. The environment was really perverted. I can get those memories in my childhood. And I'm raised in Mombasa. So growing up at around 9, 10, I went to a private school. And this is when my first time I encountered sexual molestation. Yeah, I was
At what
molested
age?
at the age of 10.
You still staying with your mom that time?
Yeah. I was molested by a certain canteen man. You know, in private schools, they are very conserved. Like, this is the place you need to buy your food. This is where you're supposed to go. It's not like public school, you can go to any shop. So it was just that one canteen. And I remember this time I had gone at that place with my friends, and this man calls me in his place inside, not necessarily in the shop. And so I went. I always say the distance between him raping me and whatever he did was just like 1 second. And it's because a friend outside called my name. And so I realized somebody called me, and I weared my clothes and got out very fast. And while he was doing all that, I knew it wasn't a good thing to
Wait,
someone to do.
You had gone to canteen to buy something.
Yeah.
You were alone at that time. In that
Yes,
place,
in that room I was alone.
in that shop.
Yeah.
You and the canteen man
Yes.
Uh-huh.
But there were some other friends outside.
outside, your friends.
Yeah.
They didn't see it.
They didn't sit because it was like in a locked room. Whatever that man was doing it in a locked room.
Oh, there's a room inside.
Yeah, you know how there is a shop and then inside.
uh-huh.
Yeah. So when my friend called, she shouted my name. So I think this man heard my name and he stopped. And so I just wear my clothes and got out. So they were like, "You've stayed really long. What was happening in there?" I couldn't talk. I was so afraid. I knew that wasn't a good thing. So I had really planned to tell my mom. I was so ready to tell my mom. I said, I'm going to tell my mom because I have to tell her so that she can know this is what happened to me. Because I felt that, you know, as a young child, when someone touches your private parts, do all those things, you feel like there is something that is taken out of you. So you need to understand what happened wasn't something that I could be able to talk. Because as I had told you before, my mom and my dad used to be with issues every now and then. Actually, in a week, I can count the times that our home had peace, maybe once.
What? In a week?
In a week. My father would come and, okay, the problem with my dad, he used to be unfaithful. And, you know, not the unfaithfulness of bringing women from, like, going to see women outside. He used to bring women in our home.
In your home?
Yes.
Before you people?
Yes.
What?
And we would watch that. He'll bring like 3 women in 1 week. It's not like one woman, different kind of women. And so we'd watch that. And this time, I really don't know what happened. Until today, I've never understood why that day. And so we are coming from school. I used to go and pick my brother. I picked my brother. That time he was around 7. I picked him and we were going home. So while we were going home, we saw a crowd. And you know, children, we are excited with crowds. People are quarreling. You want to understand what is happening.
No, after that day when you were raped.
Yes, after that time, whatever happened that day.
Let me ask you something before
Okay.
you continue. Did you shout? When the
No,
incident was
I
taking
didn't do
place?
anything. Okay,
Why?
since I was young, I used to be an introvert. The irony of life, because right now I'm very talkative. So I don't
real
get...
sanguine.
Yeah, I'm a sanguine choleric, 100%. With no doubt. I can talk, my friend. I'm even trying right now.
Wow.
So, like, we were coming from school. I picked my brother. As we were going home, we see this crowd. My brother tells me, my brother used to be very bubbly compared to me at that time, because right now it's the opposite. And he pulls me, tells me, Njeri, let's go. I'm like, but that is a crowd. I used to fear crowd. I love peace. Because I watched my dad abusing my mom, even beating her. So I used to be like, you know that child, unakaka kukuimenyeshewa. You don't want to go. Every time my dad and my mom would quarrel, people will gather. Because they used to quarrel outside. So I will run away to cry. My brother will be there defending my mom. You see, and I'm the firstborn. So I felt like I was so intimidated. I told my brother, let's go and see what is happening. So we followed the crowd. And so I was very tiny. You can imagine right now I'm fat. So with this one, I'm fat. At that time, I was really tiny, really tiny. So we just went pushing people around. And guess what? When we reached, it was my parents quarreling
In that crowd.
in that crowd. My mom and my dad quarreling, people following the crowd. Hey, Beth, you should have seen me. I was like, what? And so actually that's when I realized I cannot talk about this. Because we reached home, people were outside our home. It was like I got used to that kind of thing. But this time I was so prepared. And every morning I'd wake up so that I can tell my mom what happened. My mom used to have red eyes every day because of what was happening in her life. So
The
I didn't,
torture.
I understood at that young age, I matured so early. I understood my mom was going through something. So telling her that somebody touched my private parts, did this, rubbed me with this, I felt like it wasn't necessary at that time. Because she used to vent. I was like her channel of venting. When even a tiny mistake, why did you do it? And I was very young. So I understood I'm not supposed to tell her. So I didn't tell her anything. I continued going to school and I never used to eat. Because we used to take our food in that canteen. And you can imagine, I was so fearful. That man
That
did
time,
this.
had you planned to tell her that's what had happened to you?
To tell my mom.
After
Yeah,
the incidents?
I really wanted to tell her. I so wanted to tell her.
But because of whatever they were going through that day.
I felt like no. Because from since then, he would wake up, she would wake up in the morning very sad and she would just quarrel, You know when a person wants to just remove that pain and they don't have that channel. So I used to be my mom's channel. And so I felt like even I'm not her daughter because it's just that we look alike, but I felt like I am not a daughter to this woman. She really used to press me down many times. And since I didn't tell my brother didn't get it. So I continued going to school, but I never used to eat because I didn't want to go to that canteen. I didn't want to go and face that man. I understood he did something bad to me.
And did you share it with someone else?
No. I shared it 11 years down the line.
11 years?
Yes.
That is when you shared it
Yes.
for the very first
For
time?
the very first time. Very first time. And it's after I realized I need to talk about it because I had self-esteem issues many times. I used to sit in the group of ladies and I feel like, no, I'm not worth it. I don't measure up. And when someone intimidates me in just a small way, because growing up, people rejected me. I'll tell you about it as we continue. So I felt like, no, I cannot talk about it. It's just me. It's just me who has gone through this. And it was really bad at that time. Yeah, so that was when I was 10. So my father felt like he cannot pay school private. So he told me, I want to transfer you to a public school. I was so excited because I had gone through hell in that school. So when my father said that, I was so okay. I told him, okay, then take me to a public school, of which he did. And so from a hot pan to a frying pan. Because when I went to public, most of our neighbors are from, they used to go to public school. So they knew my family. And when you're brought up in Mombasa, like some of the kids don't have morals. So they'll keep saying, these are the children that their parents quarrel every day. You're in class and everyone will just be talking. And then you're going home, they're like, hey, we are so sure your mother now with your father somewhere. So we used to feel bad. I used to feel bad.
They could do that publicly until the society could know?
Yeah, they used to do it publicly. Like almost every day. Until I got tired. I was like, God, what's this? At that time, my mom had taken us to church sometimes back. So my mom introduced us to church, but it didn't work. Because my father used to tell us, your mom goes to church to do prostitution. It's not a good place to go. And I really loved church since I was young. So we stopped. So you can be sure we gave in to everything that came our way. So when I was around 11, with all these things that were happening, I used to defend my brother a lot because my brother is not the kind of person who will keep quiet. He will just talk. So when these big guys in class 8, class 7, they used to tell me, like, I'm so sure your parents will be quarreling right now. Let's go and watch another show. And so my brother will be like, don't talk like that about her. And these big guys, you know what they used to do? They used to beat me. Not even my brother.
The big guys.
Yeah.
By that time, which class were you in?
I was around, because I did my class 8 when I was 12.
12. You're
Yes.
so young.
Yes. And then when my mom and my dad separated, I went back to class 7 when my grandfather took me. So I did learn early, but I wasn't getting anything. Actually, I felt like I was a dumb human being. My father used to beat me because of books. I was not getting anything. You know that anti-rada, you're not getting anything.
You cannot because,
Yeah, because I remember in class 8 I
psychologically,
got 235.
the first time.
Yeah, the first time. Okay, so at that time, these guys used to be really big. You know, in Mombasa, people's school when they are really big. When my brother abuses them, instead of handling my brother, they used to handle me. Because I knew if I would defend my brother, my mom will beat me. My mom used to beat me, even with the mistakes of my brother. You know, when you're a child out of wedlock, your mother wants to cover up. To show that I'm not favoring my daughter over your son. So everything used to come back to me. And they will beat me and then abuse me sexually.
Who?
Those
now?
guys.
Oh, those guys.
Yeah.
now.
They will abuse me sexually, not once.
Okay.
And I remember there was a
And
time
you still couldn't share.
I couldn't,
And your brother.
because it
Did
was
he
true.
knew?
Yeah, my brother knew. There was a point my brother knew. And I remember there was a time my brother told them, you know what you're doing to my sister? I'm going to tell my mom. And you don't want to know the answer those guys gave. They told him, your parents don't have time for you. They have time to quarrel. Of which it's so true.
School boys are the ones telling you this.
Yeah. Of which it was so true.
This thing could torture you.
Yeah.
That is why maybe you couldn't do well in school.
I couldn't talk. I couldn't do anything in school. I used to be a very, you know, those children that they are just there. I am tiny. I don't have anything. When you come and tell me this, I'll just agree, you know. And so they used to do that. It's like they got used to abuse me many times sexually. And I couldn't go and tell my mom because I knew this woman is going through a lot of things. Because at that around 11, my father reached a point of bringing a lot of women to a point of chasing me and my mom outside. So I have slept outside, not once, me and my mom, yeah. With nothing to eat, nowhere to sleep.
And he stays behind with his boy now.
Yeah, now my brother was being locked in the house. And so like when we were chased out, that's when I realized he wasn't my father. Because I asked my mom, why is it that my brother is called Stephen, why is it that Stephen is in the house,
And
yet
you're
I'm outside?
outside.
And at that time when I was asking my mom, I was so hungry. And I felt like, you know, I'll just go and take food from, you know, this trash. Because my mom didn't want to expose the fact that we've been chased outside. And I am a lady, I am hungry. I don't have food. So I used to sleep in a corridor. Me and my mom used to sleep in a corridor for more than 3 days. Nowhere to sleep, nothing to eat. So during the day, I'll just go to neighbor's place and play so that at least they can have food. And I'll eat without my mom knowing. So I don't know how my mom took this because it's like she used to stay hungry the whole day. For all the times my dad would chase us out. And one time he's coming from work, I was so dirty. I remember very dirty. I went and asked him, why are you doing this to me? Are you sure you're my dad? So that man got, I said, is not my dad. You know what he told me? Get out of my place, go ask your mother where they buried your father.
What?
That's when I woke up, went to my mom crying.
Your real dad had died?
Okay, until today I cannot tell where my real dad is.
You mean like you've never seen him?
I've never seen him. All the time I'll hear my grandfather saying, I'm walking like him. You know those things. You're like your family side. They talk too much. You're like a man that I've never seen, but he's alive.
He's alive?
Yes, he's alive.
He's never looked for you?
He has never. Until now, for all those years, he has never looked for me.
But he knows there's his son outside, his daughter outside there.
I don't know if he knows. Because, okay, the only memory that my mom gives of my dad is that he was a drunkard man. So he says, your dad, the dad that you keep saying, he couldn't do anything. He was a drunkard man. And so I was like, so that's the only thing I know about my dad, that he was a drunkard man. Nothing else. And so when my dad, okay, now my stepdad told me to go and look for my dad, I went and asked my mom. Instead of my mom telling me the truth, she started crying. I told her, stop crying because you need to tell me. I am not a child. You people, I matured so early. Because I remember there was a time my mom, until today, I realized later that she had miscarried a child. And she didn't tell anyone. She used to crawl, actually.
Your mom?
Yeah. She
Why
used to
now?
crawl because she miscarried and we didn't understand.
Okay.
And I didn't even know. I was very young. So I used to cook at that time. I used to cook for my brother. I'd wash my own clothes. I'll do everything in the house.
At what age?
At that time, I was around 11, still 11, 10. Because my dad had remarried another woman for 1 month, leaving another woman in the house who was miscarried, his own child. So I took care of everything. So I told my mom, just tell me, who is my dad? My mom didn't talk about it. She never talked about it. She didn't even tell me. My grandparents are the one who told me. She didn't tell me. So, I kept quiet for too long until I reached a point I didn't want to go to school because I was afraid these guys will abuse me again. It was too much. I remember there was a time I was bleeding. And one offense to my mom is going home crying. So you're not supposed to come home crying because my mom will ask you, because you don't have hands to fight, now you're coming here crying. So while I was bleeding, it was so bad. I went home. My mom didn't even notice. No one noticed. No one noticed there was something bad with me. I just went home with that pain. And the only pain I carried for all the years, crying every night. So my father used to tell me, if you're not going to school, you won't stay in my house. Keeping in mind, he's this violent. I just decided, let me go back to school. And those guys, when they have that advantage, so I used to run. Yes, my brother used to tell me, run. So I allowed them to intimidate me. I told my brother, it's true. Let them say that our parents quarrel. It's true. Just allow them say. Because every time you defend ourselves, they'll come back and abuse me. So just don't talk about it. So you're in class, when you do just one mistake, everyone will be like, we know you. Even your parents don't have time for you. So,
Oh my God.
of which it was so true. No one had time for us. No one, the way nowadays a mom will tell you this is how a lady is supposed to live. When you're growing up at the age of 10, you start having breast. No one had
Such time for you.
And to make it worse at this younger age, I was even exposed to pornography.
By who?
By guys. I was raised in an environment, I tell you, sexual perversion was 120%.
What? In cost?
I tell you. So, I remember there was a time, this is very personal. I don't talk about it most of the time. These guys, they used to have phones. And so it's like they used to force us to watch it. And then they tell you, I want you to do it with your brother.
What do you say?
Yes.
Guy.
Yes. And until today, I think that thing really disturbs my brother. Because I stood there and I'm told to do this nasty thing with my brother. I couldn't do it. So these guys did beat me up. And they told me, that's why even your mom will never take care of you because you don't have senses. I'm like, hey, this is so true. I don't have senses.
That is so
I couldn't
inhuman.
do it. They used to do it, but I couldn't. This is my brother. I couldn't do it. So every time I'll see these videos of young children with pornography and everything, I understood. Even parents can be responsible for that. Because my mom was busy building her marriage that was breaking. She didn't even notice we used to watch pornography or something. She didn't. So I battled it alone. I grew up battling it alone. And so at the age of 12, my mom felt enough is enough. She left the house and we went to my grandparents' place. So I was so relieved because that shame, that stigma, but still I couldn't tell my grandparents I was raped and that people used to abuse me. No, I didn't say. I kept quiet.
So you left with you and your mom and your brother?
And my brother, yeah, we left. So we went to my grandparents' place and I so blessed the Lord for my grandparents because at that time my grandfather...
Your maternal side?
Yeah, for my mom's side. At that time my grandfather was a pastor. And so he used to pastor KAG. And he really trimmed us in behavior, because we used to even talk things because no one cared. You can talk whatever you want to talk. So my grandparents brought us up in a very different way, very different way. That's when I started, my eyes opened to the things of God. But there was a problem when we went to my grandparents' place, we were rejected. Yeah. They did not accept us, you
Who
know.
now?
Now
The
my
cousins.
relatives,
Oh,
yeah.
the relatives.
Yeah. I remember there was an aunt one time looked straight through my grandma's eyes, and we were sitting and said, I don't want these children in my house. And we were so new. And until today, that voice, I still remember it, where she was saying, I don't want people who don't listen in my house. No, no, no. And we never went.
And you stay. So
Yeah, she didn't
you
want
people
us.
to visit
Yeah,
her. Okay.
because we are this kind of children. So that rejection was too much for me. And I felt like maybe I came to a place where we can find peace. And so my grandparents decided they're going to bring us up. And you see,
Who is your mom then?
we came to my grandparents' place, and my mom didn't talk what was happening to her. Can you imagine? She never used to say that this man used to do this to her. She never talked. We were the ones who were telling our grandparents what happened. And guess what? My grandfather took me to class 7. My mom became depressed. She became mentally ill. And with mentally ill, I mean she started walking with petticoats. Yes, without shoes. She used to sleep outside. We never understood. Actually, her brothers used to say that she's pretending. And they at some one point or another, they beat her up because she's pretending.
Guy.
Yeah. She became
It was
mentally
that
ill.
much.
Yeah, it was that bad. She became literally mentally ill. You know, you're in school in the morning and somebody comes and tell you, hey, Njeri, we've seen your mom. When your mom is mentally ill, you could say, ni chokora, you know? Is your mom chokora? Because she doesn't wear clothes, she walks without shoes. Is your mom chokora? And I used to feel like, hey, now from this side, now this is chokora thing.
The disorder is called schizophrenia.
Yeah. She was literally sick to a point of even sleeping outside. So it disturbed my grandma. And she got pressure at that season. And we decided years later, after my grandfather felt that it was too much, because I told my grandfather, my fellow pupils are telling me that my mom is chokora. It doesn't feel good. I don't want to I felt like I don't want to be associated with that title. Because people used to give examples. Jerule mama yake anakuanga chokora. You know. So I used to feel bad. Because, so I lacked parental love. I didn't have this is a dad that used to do all things. And this is my mom, the only person I expected her to just take care of me, because now she cannot claim that she's being abused. So she has become mentally ill. So I grew up with my grandparents. They were not really well off. And so when I tell you, I was really intimidated, because even going to church, I never had friends. I know you can get that. So I used to follow my grandma to church. And I would sit next to my grandma. And that's how I got born again after Form 4. Because no one wanted to associate with me. I think it's because I never used to dress well. I used to wear oversize, and I was very tiny, you know. So they never used those.
Oh, that is what you thought.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought they don't want to talk to me. I don't have new clothes. You know, those children used to be rich. So I didn't associate with anyone. I was still an introvert. I never used to talk. So my grandma used to encourage me. She would tell
By
me.
that time, when you're done with your Form 4, your mother was still mentally ill.
Yeah, until today, my mom is still not okay.
Until today.
Yeah,
For how
until
many years now?
12 years down the
12
line.
years.
Yeah.
Because of whatever had happened.
Whatever
to
had
her.
happened, yeah. Because I remember we moved to my grandma after I finished 12. 13, I joined in my class 7. So for 12 years, my mom has been like that.
Sorry.
She's under medication. There are times she's okay. There are times she's not okay. And as a lady, it has been so hard. So my grandma became my best friend. Even when I first saw my periods, my grandma didn't understand pads. I even didn't understand. So we used pieces of clothes. I didn't, it was that bad. We couldn't afford shoes or some things of the sort. So I just grew up like that, knowing that it's this kind of life, good life is for other ladies, not for Njeri. Because I would see people dressing well. I'll go home and tell my grandma, why are they like this? Why not me? Because even my cousin used to dress well, but it couldn't happen with me. It was so hard. And so
And who was taking care of your school fees?
my grandfather.
Okay.
Yes, my grandfather has taken care of my school fees since I was in class 7. Until I finished, he took care of everything. With everything in him, he took care of of everything that concerned me. Even though he really struggled, he did, but he still managed for me until the time I graduated. So, yeah, so I never had parental love. I struggled with it for a period of time. I needed attention. I needed someone to tell me you're beautiful. No one told me that, you know. And when somebody would tell me, hey, Njeri, you're very tall. As you can see, I'm tall. So I didn't want anyone to remind me. My self-esteem was so low. I couldn't talk. I couldn't do anything, you know. And healing is not easy. I struggled to heal. I didn't know how to heal. No one came.
And you know, at that stage, it's the adolescent stage.
Yeah.
So you really need someone to talk to you about these girlish things.
Sure.
How you should dress, how you should groom.
Yeah. So I didn't have anyone to tell me that. You know, I'd expect it from my aunts, but I didn't get that. So my grandmother, you know, those their days, they used to do life casually. So she expected me to live that kind of life, of which I did. Yeah, I lived the way my grandma wanted me to live because she was the only best friend I had. She was the only mom I had. And that time, I didn't tell her that I was abused. I couldn't because my grandma used to have pressure and diabetes. So I didn't want to involve her in so many things.
So after Form 4, you've still not shared this
No.
with anyone else?
No. After Form 4, no, because I was 18. I didn't. I shared it in my campus because I wanted to commit suicide. After things were so tough, my grandfather couldn't afford my school fees. I felt I cannot continue. I tried taking my life 3 times because I felt like life is too much for me. This man is doing too much for me. My mom is there looking up to him. My mom cannot do anything for herself. She cannot work. My grandma got stroke, and eventually she passed last year.
Your grandmother?
Yeah. And I cannot say that now I have healed from that death because it was so heavy on me.
A mom.
Yeah, she was like a mom. She was like a best friend to me. So when
Was
she
the one
died,
taking care of your mother?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So when she died, I felt like, God, I don't have a friend to run to. My grandfather is my friend, but you know, he's a man.
He's a man.
You cannot be telling him like, I got a boyfriend,
Yeah, I know.
or this and this is telling me I'm feeling like this. He couldn't get it. So
You were so much attached to your grandmother.
very, very. I tell you 100%. Because my grandma, for as much as she didn't understand the girlish thing, she cared. Like she would call
listen.
me, yeah, she would call me. Okay, in university, I struggled to eat because my grandfather used to send me 200 shillings for 2 weeks. There is handout in there.
What?
So I would prefer, let me buy handout so that at least I can read. I remember even my second year exams, I went to many exams without reading because I couldn't afford handouts. And at times I say, those people who say, like, they need men so that they can provide, let someone know now it's possible to go through all that and graduate without a man.
Oh my God.
Because
wow.
I didn't have
You
shoes.
can say that again.
And you know, it's in campus where comparison is 100%. So most of the time I'd go to class, my friends can attest this, my campus friends, and I'll stay hungry the whole day. And my friends, the only thing my friend could afford was to buy me supper. And I'll tell them, that's so much with me, fine with me. I never depended even a single day for a man. I would cry in that house. I would pray in that house because I remember in my second year, I gave my life back to Christ again. I renewed my salvation, and that's when I received the gift of the Holy Spirit. And I trusted God, even in those suicidal moments, because I tried throwing myself in a well, it didn't work. My landlady actually started locking the well because she realized I want to kill myself. I overdosed. I didn't die. I so wanted to die. Until today, I don't understand why God didn't take me. And one time I was going to school. I had called my grandfather, and my grandfather he had a lot. You know, you have a student in campus. This is a mom. My grandma at that time, she was having stroke. So my grandma couldn't walk, couldn't eat for herself. She needed someone to bath her. So that's all that was looking up to my grandfather. So when I called him asking for money, that was too much for him. And I felt so that I can reduce trouble for this man. Let me just die. And I am going to school, and there is this running car coming, and I started moving.
What?
And it took its break, and the man got out of the car and asked me, you want to kill yourself? Because that's what you really wanted to do. Of which I so wanted to do. And he asked me, why did you hold the brakes? I wanted you to continue so that you can kill me. Okay, he was a man like who was just in his business, so he didn't care why I wanted to kill myself. He just told me, don't try that again, and he went. And so when I didn't die at that time, I told myself, it's like it's not working, so let me just be contented. This one won't work any sooner. Yeah, and
Did you have friends maybe who you could talk to?
okay, I am a sanguine, but at that time I didn't like sharing what I was going through. I felt like I don't want to be a burden to anyone. And I had done a lot of mistakes growing up because of my stupidness. I used to do mistake, and everyone would tell me, now look at you. You cannot even add up for anything. I have heard those words a billion times from relatives. I am lazy. I cannot add up to anything. And that's why I don't have parents. That's why, you know. So I was like, yeah, I'm even wondering why I'm existing, actually. Because nothing good can come out of me. And there was a time my grandfather was so tired and told me, you know, even until today, I'm just bearing staying with you.
Your grandfather?
Yeah, that one broke me into pieces.
This is the person that
Yeah.
it's like they are the only parents that
Yeah.
have remained now.
Yeah. So my grandma fought for my studies. I was asked to defer twice. So even graduating was such a miracle. I was asked to defer twice, but my grandma said no. So when my grandma passed, when I was in my 4.1, it was so hard for me because I wanted her to see me graduate. You know? She has really worked for this degree more than I have. So I wanted her to see me graduate. So when I lost my grandmother, I was so depressed because I didn't get a friend. And that's when I stood my grounds with God even more. And so I trusted God for everything in my life, for provision and everything, because I cannot pick my phone to call anyone. No one can help me unless God does that. Yeah.
Oh my God, wow, you've really gone through a lot. So what made you now share it now for the very first time? Was it because you wanted to commit suicide?
Yeah, I felt like, so there was a friend, after that suicide thing, there was a friend who came. He was a guy.
Which year were you by then?
I was in my third year.
Your third year.
Yeah, at that time, my third year, my grandma was in the hospital for 3 months. So I was alone in the room, and I was so tired. And I told myself, I'll just go and take care of my grandma before anything happens, because my grandfather used to tell me she cannot make it. She won't make it, of which she didn't. And so this guy comes in my room. I think he was coming to pick something, and he finds me sleeping. I didn't have anything to eat. And so I was just sleeping, and he tells me, Njeri, you really look stressed. And I told him, yeah, I am, but it is well. So he told me, because you don't want to talk to me, what if I take you to a counselor in university so that you can talk to her? I was like, I've never talked to anyone, so I don't know how people start talking these things, because I have a life to give. And he was like, you can give it a shot, just try. So he takes me the following day to school, and I sit next to this counselor, not knowing what to tell her. I started breaking. I just told her, as you see me, I've gone through hell. Everything you can mention, I have seen. The only thing I've not gone through is heartbreak. But all these things I have gone through.
Heartbreak because you've not dated someone?
Yeah, no, I've never dated anyone. I hated men. Passionately.
It's expected.
Passionately. Actually, my grandfather used to tell me, when a guy would pass, come and see this guy. Because he was even afraid. Because I hated to a point of hating my brother. Like, you men, all of you are just evil. So I was separated with my brother. I didn't say that. So we grew different places. I was the only child in the house. My brother was taken. And when my grandparents from my stepdad side came to take my brother, you know what they said? We've come to get what is ours. It's like, hey.
So she was
Njeri, I'm
taken
not
by,
their
by,
own.
by his father's side?
Yeah,
Up
and
to
they
date?
were well off.
Up to date?
Up to the day. They were well off. I couldn't compare their family with my family. We really struggled. And so I stayed alone as a child in the house. I felt like everything is taken away from me. When they separated me with my brother, I felt like
And you were
everything is
close.
taken away. Yeah, we were close because we shared the pain. The days of being mistreated, he would defend my mom. Even in crowds, he'll defend my mom. He would tell me, stop crying. It's going to be well, you know? So when they separated us, I felt like I don't have a sister, I don't have any other sibling. I am just alone.
Do you have a father? Your mother is not well.
My mother is not well. My grandmother is sick. I'm only having my grandfather, who apparently is an introvert. He doesn't talk much.
And you cannot talk to him.
Yeah. The only thing my grandfather used to tell me every now and then is that love God and read. Those two things he repeat. And he tell me, don't go to university and get pregnant. You know, nowadays people go and they say we did it because we didn't have money. I have gone through that journey without anything. Like literally anything. Even the way I'm dressing, I'm like, this is God, because
this has just been your life.
Yeah.
And you're very comfortable with that.
Yeah.
And you look good.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, so I take such compliments with a lot of humility, because no one told me I look good. Even the first time I was told you look beautiful, it was a friend, a lady friend. And she told me, Njeri, you know you're very beautiful. I'm like, hey, it's you, just you're seeing that beauty.
Acha kunichocha.
Yeah, acha kunichocha, because no one ever told me that. No one. And I didn't want to get it from men, because I never loved men. I started loving men after now I have healed. So I went to the counselor. This is where I was. And the first day I'm not talking. The second day, she had patience, by the way. I'm not talking. The third day, I'm not talking. She was like, hey, why do you come here if you're not talking? So I'm like, I just want to cry my heart out. So the fourth day, I started telling him bits by bits. You know, that counselor looked at me and told me, girl, this is too much for myself to take in. She told me no. And at that time, I was only 21. Yeah. Told me, this is too much for me to take in myself. Come tomorrow. And you can imagine that is a counselor. I was like, okay. So I came the following day and I shared bits with her. I didn't tell her I was sexually molested. I didn't know how she'll take that, because I was like, this is the shameful thing to talk about. People don't talk about how they are sexually abused. So I didn't talk about it. I just stayed like that. So after we became friends with that counselor, for a period we became friends. And she started telling me, is there something you're not telling me? I started becoming even jovial. Started becoming very talkative. I am a clown. I can make everyone laugh. But when I go in my room, I so cry. And so at that time, I started having real laughters. Not those fake, because I was releasing some things in me. I'll tell him even the tiny things, what my uncle did to me, what they told me, how they treated my mom, how some kids ran away from my mom. I didn't tell this. During my prayer day in class 8, my mom came and children ran, saying, Mwenda wazimu. You can imagine. That's your mom. That's your mom. Children are running away. You're supposed to run to your mom.
How did you take that?
I couldn't have done anything. She was my mom. And yeah. I adjusted to life. I had to adjust and I had to grow up and I had to okay, at that time I didn't speak, saying, you guys stop talking about my mom. No, I couldn't. So I just lived the life the way it is. And at this time, one time I faced my counselor and I told her, you know what? When I was 10, 11, they did this and this. And she was so shocked. And that's when she started a journey with me. Since I was in second year until I graduated, until today, she's my best friend. Yeah. So she took me. Yeah. So I started having confidence. The Lord started opening even deeper things in my life. She started telling me, Njeri, this is not right. This is in your heart. Forgive. So I started I journal too much. I really journal. When you hurt me, I write it down more than talking. So when I write it down, I'll talk. I express how I feel nowadays with so much confidence. I realize a lot of ladies have gone through what I've gone through. So when I keep quiet, it's like the enemy is just pulling me back, not to help souls. And so the Lord started asking me to forgive. That's where healing comes from. Forgive them. Forgive that man. Forgive that friend. Forgive, they said this. I was like, God, they said it. God, they rejected us. God, they did. And it was like, forgive. So I started to forgive. And my grandma had taught me to forgive. She used to tell me, don't hate your uncles. It's not good. Just love them. Forgive them. I tried at that time, but that time I did it because God asked me to. I obeyed and I forgave. So when I forgave, that's where healing came from. I was so happy. I was like, it's okay. So when life comes, I'm like, I cannot be shaken because I have standed my ground to trust the word of God in my entire life.
Wow.
Yeah.
You mean like you could really struggle with forgiveness?
Yeah,
because
and
of
bitterness.
what you had gone through? there was a lot of bitterness inside you,
Yeah.
and you couldn't express it to anyone.
No.
So mtu angekukosea ulikuwa unamwekea grudge kind of,
I used to carry people a lot. A lot.
It's expected.
A lot. Because when you hurt me, because I cannot talk, so I carry you. I can carry you for months. Because I don't know how to tell you. I'm like, I have seen this before. People have done this to me. So it's okay. And I'll just put it in my heart. But not any longer. Right now, you step on me on the spot. We are not going any far. You did it, yes, and I'm not okay. Because healing is beautiful. Especially when you're in Christ. I tell you, you'll never get healing outside of Christ. It is impossible. It is impossible.
So you could start that by telling like kama mtu amekukosea, you tell him or her,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
and then you sort your issues and you healed.
Yeah, and we'll be friends. Actually,
Wow.
we'll have issues at 11 a.m. By 12, we are laughing
So forgiveness has really worked out for you.
in a greater way.
Okay, let me ask you this again, Njeri.
Yeah.
After you've now shared out with this counselor, and how has life been after that? After the very first time you shared out your story.
So I felt a bit relieved. It's not like my life was smooth, because it was still the time everything in my family was bad. Yeah, I have come from a very humble background. Very humble. The basic things that ladies say, like plaiting hair. I don't understand that, actually. It has been rare for me. Yeah, plaiting hair like this is just a miracle for me, because I used to stay with hair entire semester. So
Hairstyle.
I still have issues of finances, because we couldn't afford a lot of things. Even that, the same counselor used to help me financially. Yeah, she used to help me financially. And when I opened up, I felt a bit relieved. It's like something just came out. As like I have someone I can talk to. I have someone who will have patience for me. And so I felt a bit better, and I started talking about it more often. She told me, it is okay to talk about it. You might not understand, but somebody need to hear your story. And so I was like, yeah, true.
Very
So
true.
another time, after talking to my counselor, next time I didn't talk to any friend, I posted it in my status.
Wow.
Yeah. I posted it in my
Couldn't
status.
feel ashamed of that.
No. No.
But this time you had gained courage.
Yeah, this time I had gained courage. And when I shared it, you don't want to believe. Everyone was in my DM, especially ladies. Like, this has happened to me. How did you talk about it? You know?
Yeah.
So I realized,
There's so many people facing
so
this,
there's so many people who are bottling it up, and
that
they have
don't know
gone
how
through.
to go out with these.
And they have gone through a lot. Because I don't understand why it's just in this society where people don't talk about sexual abuse. We need to. And we need to, like parents, they need to talk to their ladies where they're still young. Tell them these things. Let no one touch your private parts. Let this not happen. And when you're looking at your marriage breaking, concentrate on your children too. Because we need our parents. We so need them, you know? Yeah.
Wow, Njeri. Thank you so much, our wonderful viewers, for tuning in. For them that are commenting, thank you, Heavens Juma, Pastor Peter, Martin Praise, Naomi Waithaka is watching. Thank you so much, Naomi, and thank you for referring me to Njeri, or Njeri to me. I think she's the one who told me about you, and I felt like you really have a very touching story that can really help someone outside there. There are so many people, like you say, there are so many people who've gone through rape. There are so many people who've gone even through very hard situation, even more than that, you know. And they cannot share it out. But you, as a person, you've gone through that, and here you are sharing this so confidently to people outside there. And you're not even shameful at this time. And there's something that you told me, and this has taught me. After you started sharing your story out, that is when you started getting healed. And that is when you started releasing the bitterness that was in you. Jerry, maybe there are people outside there who are also facing such situations. What can you tell them?
Okay, all I can tell them is that first, don't give up. Like, the word giving up, let it not be.
Look into that.
Let it not be in your dictionary. Giving up is not a thing. And if you can hear me and you've not given your life to Christ, I tell you, healing comes from Christ. First, just say yes to Him also, because He'll give you the courage. He'll expose you to you. Yeah, God will expose you to you. And another thing, do not be afraid to speak out how you're feeling. It is not a shameful thing. It is the weapon of the devil to hold us back, not to say what we are going through. But if you feel like it is too much, please get someone and talk it out. Also journal. I cannot promise you that healing will happen in 1 day or 2 days, or 1 week or 1 month or 1 year. It is a process. It is a process. It is a everyday process. Like, just trust the process. 1 day at a time. Trust the process. And before you realize it, you may not have healed 100%, but then you can stand with the 98. Trust me, it's possible.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there's also something that you said, your parents did not get time to concentrate to you. And so, do you feel like at one point this also was a cause for whatever you're going through?
Yeah, everything I have gone through, it's because of my parents. That's what I say. I used to blame my mom, by the way. I used to blame I didn't blame my stepdad, because when I realized he wasn't my dad, I was like, no, I understand why he used to do the things he did. But parents, I blamed my mom for too long. I really blamed her. But later, one thing I've come to realize is this. Our parents have their own issues. It's one thing we don't know as children. But your mom and your dad have their own issues. When you look into the background or the roots, you realize your dad maybe was brought up in a certain way. Your mom was brought up in a certain way. So when these two people come together, and people who are, maybe they were not meant to be together, they bring issues, and you as a child, you carry it in your heart, and you start maybe judging your parents, because I used to do that a lot. But later I stopped blaming people. I told myself, no.
So what can you tell parents outside there?
Okay, what I can tell parents is that take keen look of your children. Understand that silence is also a language. That, there are some children who are very bubbly. When this child comes from school so quiet, you don't pay attention. You don't understand what is happening to her. Let me use, for example, myself. When I am a very bubbly child and I come home very quiet, you just say, maybe it's okay. Maybe she's not in the moods. Get deeper with, she's not in the moods. What is it in her moods? Learn to listen to your children. When she speaks something, notice the pattern. The days she's quiet and the days she's jovial, because it's a communication too. Because you know your child. So you will know this is the time, like, why is she like this? Why is she? Put more attention to your children. Because this is a generation you're raising. You're not raising animals, you're raising people.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Njeri. But I'm also advising parents outside there. But again, when a person, Njeri, even you as a person, when you go through hell of life, you get to have so much bitterness inside you, and I cannot blame your mom to a point that your mom become schizophrenic. I mean, mwenda wazimu. It meant that she really had a lot of pain inside her. The burden was too much. She couldn't even get time to concentrate to the kids or something like that, and that is why. And that is why she didn't even have time for you. And that is why you went through whatever you went through. But like you said, it is good to, as a parent, as much as you're going through your issues, these are the children. These are your children that you yourself brought them here in the world. So you should not neglect them. When you see, like, today your child has come home jovial, tomorrow your child has come home, she's not jovial, you must know that there is something. Make sure you get in touch with her. If you're a father, if you're a mother, make sure you get in touch with that child, that you get to know what has been wrong, what is right with her day, with your child. And that one can really save us. You say, like, maybe the first time you told your parents, maybe the first time you were raped, if you could have shared it with your mother, if your mother had time, and if she had given you an ear, trust me, Njeri, that could never have happened again. Maybe she could transfer you. Maybe she could even take that risk of migrating you from that area to another area to make you heal mentally. And all that. But we cannot also blame her. We cannot blame her. She was going through a lot of torture. But I believe that God will heal her one day, Njeri. God will heal her. One day she will testify that the so many years she's been schizophrenic. God has healed her. God has been with her because He's not a blind God. Yeah, I'm so glad. Thank you for being our guest today. What is your parting shot? What is the last thing that you can tell our viewers today?
I have a parting shot for Single ladies.
You can look into this camera.
Hey, you see the way I've started single ladies, eh?
Uh-huh.
Yes. To my single ladies outside there, please, marriage is work for as much as it work. So do not marry wrong so that your children will be suffering.
Wow.
Because when you marry the best father to your children, because all this happened because my mom and my dad, I think they were not meant to be. So please trust God for the best man in your life. Trust him to provide a man. Do not be in a hurry. It is better to marry late and not marry wrong, you know? So I just say, like, to save the children that will come out of your womb, make the right decisions.
Wow.
Because if I start talking to moms, the moms already are living their lives. And those who have made wrong decision, just trust God. It's not yet over until it's over. But I'm talking to people who are going to start life, you know? So because I have learned it and I want you to get it from me, it is good to marry right so that you can bring up seeds that are right. The word of God says that bring up in a child in a godly way, that even if he misses the way, he shall still come back. You know, some of us, we came back because our parent, my grandfather, planted seeds in me. So even if I went with all the bitterness and unforgiveness, I came back because my grandparents married right. So single ladies, please, marry right. That's all I can say.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah,
and
you're
I've
welcome.
also taken that in because I'm a single lady. By the way, marrying wrong is like, I had a preacher who say this. When you marry a wrong partner, it's like sleeping, in a bed, you two. Your husband is here and you're here. Yeah. It's like sleeping next to your coffin, One day you'll get in there. It's like you're sleeping here and a coffin is right beside you.
Yeah.
So marrying wrong is also a cause of
Yeah.
children suffering today in our society. And young ladies outside there, we should marry right. Take your time to know someone. Take your time to pray for the right partner, because each one of you, God created someone for each one of you. One person, a partner,
yeah.
one person. Yeah, so may the Lord also help us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe that
Just
you
like the moms.
cannot marry wrong, Njeri.
Yeah.
For the fact that
Like-
you also have a purity ring
Yeah.
in your finger. Oh my God, this one has really challenged me. I think I can buy this.
You need. Like, I always say something. If my mom had left earlier, she couldn't be depressed. So I don't know, but this I'm just sending it to our pastors. Don't force them to stay. Because
But there was to ask you that
Yeah,
question.
don't.
What is your take if you see a marriage is not working out according to you? Now that you've been in such a family, what can you advise such couple out there?
Okay, the word of God, I'll stand with the word of God that says divorce is not acceptable. You know? So we are not looking at the divorce in the side of what Moses had really established. We are in the new covenant. You see? You cannot stay with a man who abuses you, beats you every day, and all you're telling yourself is that he'll change one day. You are not Jesus. You cannot change him.
Wow.
You are not Jesus.
Wow.
It's a mistake even we do as single ladies. You're dating someone who is a drunkard, you're born again, and then you're telling yourself he'll change. Are you Jesus? You are not Jesus.
Wow.
Yes, you're not. Only Jesus can change them. And they change them from the heart. Not because you talk, you think they'll change. So, my dear mom, before they kill you,
Go away.
yeah, before
Run
they
for your
kill you,
life.
and you will marry again, and Jesus will remain to be Jesus,
Wow.
Father of all heavens and
Wow,
creation,
wow.
seated at the seat of throne.
Uh-huh.
And he will not judge you. He will not. The same Father who said, David is a man after my own heart. David who killed. So you think running away from a man who would have cut your legs is a sin? No, you have not sinned to a point of shedding blood.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So please run with your two feet.
Muli, he says here, this is too deep. Brown Richard Njeri, thank you for tuning in, Richie. Wow, this story is touching. The Lord heals. Njoro Moja Njeri, you are a very strong lady. Indeed, you are, Njeri. Naomi Waidaka says, it is so touching. But I thank God he has seen Njeri through all those trials. And Njeri is here standing and encouraging people outside there. She's also a minister of God. Njeri, what else do you do in life? What do you do in life today?
Okay,
You went through campus. What did you study?
I did study education.
Education in?
To be precise, Kiswahili and history. I am a high school teacher by profession. I am also running a ministry called Bristol Society. Yeah, it is a ladies' ministry. called Priestess Society. It's derived from Genesis 3:15, where the word of God says, I'll create inimity between you and a woman. You will bruise her heel, but it shall crush your head. You know? So in life, we have been bruised. Like personally, my heels have been bruised. But whatever is ahead is crushing the head. So I always say, ladies, yes, we've been bruised. But what are you doing with your bruises? Crush the serpent's head. And this is one thing I'm doing. I'm burning for Jesus. You know, I've always walked with this. I say, it's either you're burning fats or you're burning for Jesus. Options are two.
Our viewers today, Njeri is a person who's gone through a lot, and now that she has ministry for ladies, indeed she has been called for that. And being a person who is not just sharing out stories because it is there in the society, she's sharing out stories out of her own experience. And so ladies outside there, you need to join that ministry. You need to be encouraged by her. She's really a motivation speaker. And thank you so much, Njeri. Maybe there is someone outside there who wants to reach out to you. Where can she or he get you?
Okay, I am in Facebook. I am Specshoza Njeri Wango. With Wango, it's WANGU.
Specshoza is right there on the screen.
Yeah, in Instagram, I am at Specshoza Njeri. And then, am I supposed to share my number?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, so if you want to get me, it's +254 703 79 38 58.
You can repeat that again. Can
I
you
repeat,
look into this camera?
0703 79 38 58.
Wow.
Yeah, I am very available to help ladies.
Thank you so much, Njeri. May the Lord bless you so much even for helping me. I mean, for sharing out your story with me today. May the Lord bless you and may He see you through all your life. Thank you so much, viewers, for all who've tuned in today. Shazad here says wisdom there. Thank you for them that I've not mentioned because of time. May the good God bless you. Continue sharing these stories. Continue watching us in ETV. We have, you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. May the Lord bless you so much. Until next time, I am your host, Minister Beth, in the Unspoken. Let's meet. Bye.